Good morning, friends, and welcome to another Sal St. George program. My name is Darren St. George, and it's a pleasure to see you once again. It's been quite some time. We've missed you. We're very thankful for John for holding down the fort, and we are ready to get back. And this is a wonderful way to start. If you've been with us before, hello. Always a pleasure to see you. If this is your first time, welcome to the party, because this is how we start every week. Every Monday morning, we are celebrating entertainment's leaders, legends, and icons, and this morning is no exception. That's right, we're heading to Fairmount, Indiana, to the James Dean Museum, and we are honored to be joined by Christy Pulley-Berry, president of the board, as well as their curator, Dorothy Schultz. Now, as always, please do be sure to keep your microphone and your camera on mute throughout today's program. Thank you in advance. If you have any questions, and we sure you will, either on Facebook or on Zoom, please share that in the chat. We want to hear your thoughts. Even let us know where you're watching from today. That's always enjoyable. So keep in touch with the chat. Let us know what you're thinking, and we're going to have a good time. Next week, Sal is talking about Child Stars of Hollywood, Part 1. Now, that's pretty cool. We're going to be talking about Jackie Coogan, Jackie Cooper, The Little Rascals, and Shirley Temple. So you're not going to miss that. That's next Monday, same place, right here. We'll see you again. Let's get to it. Man of the hour, Sal, Dad, are you there?
Good morning, everybody, and good morning, Darren. Good to see you.
Hey, Pop. Welcome back. How are you doing?
I'm particularly excited about this because James Dean has so many rumors and stories about him that I'm pleased that we're going to be able to dispel all of the myths about James Dean right now. And we should get right to it.
Yeah. All right. Let's do it.
Let's bring them right in.
Christy, Dorothy, come on down. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to both of you. Thank you so much for being here with us today and opening up your door for us. Okay, first question. Why is James Dean as popular today as he's ever been?
Well, I think, first of all, his acting was, I think, when he came out, it was a new form of acting, and he really got into his roles. But so I'll let Dorothy talk more about that. But from my perspective, I think he's timeless. His style, everything about him is just absolutely timeless.
And people may not realize it that he only made 3 major motion pictures.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. To make an impact like that, I mean, that's amazing.
Davis Jr. Said it best, and I'm just like paraphrasing it, but he said how even today there's still a lot of jealousy surrounding James Dean, where people think, well, he only made 3 pictures, like, why should we care about him now? And his answer to that was there were only 2 people in his lifetime who really had what he called that thing. And that was Marilyn Monroe and James.
Imagine them in a movie together.
Yeah.
So what was his style? Everybody talks about his style. And from what I've read about him, he was known for improvising on the set and not even telling the other actors what he was going to do. There was a brief clip from East of Eden there where he fell into his father's arms weeping. That was not in the script from what I remember reading.
Right, that was completely improvised. So was in the beginning of Rebel Without a Cause with the monkey where he tucked it in to sleep. He completely just improvised that whole scene and told Nicholas Ray, let me do this. But he and Christine White, they auditioned for the Actors Studio, and they were the youngest members to ever be admitted. So Lee Strasberg. And Jimmy didn't really attend it so much, but he definitely was a believer in what they just called the method, which was really you take experiences from your own life and your own person and apply it to your character. So he really lived his parts.
See, I could sit here right now and speak with you for the full hour, but I know I've got people watching right now that are saying, what is that motorcycle doing back there? They want to know. So why don't we get into some of the things that you do have available?
Yeah. So here's his Czech motorcycle. And he got this for his 16th birthday from his uncle, Marcus Winslow. And he painted it to be the school colors, to be black and gold. And Christy actually has a really wonderful story to tell about the bike.
So my dad was actually a friend of Jimmy's in high school, through grade school and up through high school. And he actually was a pallbearer at his funeral, but he rode on the back of this bike many times. And the story goes is that they would be cruising down the road and Jimmy would pop a wheelie and knock Dad off the back. And Jimmy would turn around and just laugh. And my dad would say probably a couple of not very nice words, but he would always get back on the back. I said, well, Dad, you were stupid enough to get back on. And he would do it a couple of times and then figure Dad had had enough and then move on. And you can see up there's a photograph. I don't know how the reflection is. But
Yeah, get as close as you can to it. There you go.
That was taken on his birthday, and that's right on Main Street.
Do you know how old he would have been?
It was for his 16th birthday.
Okay. Can we see the front of that bike? Can you move around to so we can see the handlebars and the,
That's right. I don't know how well you can see.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see it.
Very good. And that suit?
Now this is his letter sweaters.
So it's for basketball.
Come back a little bit, maybe.
And then baseball.
And they have the Fairmount, he was quite an athlete as well. People don't maybe know that.
Yeah, and his athleticism really comes across in his acting. So in East of Eden, when he's leaping off trains and, in Rebel with the knife scene, Jim Bacchus actually said that he had never worked with an actor who used his body so fluidly and well in his acting as Jimmy.
So you mentioned, Chrissy, that your dad grew up with James Dean. Mm-hmm. And how did all of this memorabilia end up in your museum? Was it your dad that initiated all this? And how did you acquire it all?
Actually, the town of Fairmount started the museum in 1975, and Dad wasn't really involved then. And let me just say, going back to that, Dad didn't really start talking about James Dean until a little bit later, maybe late 80s, just because, in his world, he lost a friend and not just, an actor. So it was more personal to him, like it is with the family. So he didn't talk a lot about James Dean. And it wasn't until later when Dad actually really became involved. But to go back, the town started the museum. And when they moved, they had it above like the old hardware store here. And when they moved, they bought this building, which is on the National Register of Historic Places. Marcus Winslow Jr., who actually grew up on the farm with Jimmy. He was 13 years younger, but he, was born when Jimmy was there. He has all of these amazing pieces, and he's actually put them on loan here. So it's the Winslow family who keeps this museum going. They have worked on the displays. Pretty much every piece in here is on loan from them, and they are very involved, and they kind of keep this going.
So if your dad grew up with him, what kind of family life did he have as a young man?
Should we go back to the beginning?
Yeah.
Okay. So Jimmy was born in Marion at the Seven Gables apartments at 4th and McClure, and the house isn't there anymore, but we have a gable from the house on exhibit. And his dad was a dental technician, and his job moved him out to Santa Monica, California when Jimmy was 5. So he and his mom and his dad moved out to Santa Monica, and Jimmy was very, very close with his mom. So she had him take tap dance lessons, violin lessons. She built like a little puppet theater, and they would do that together. Supposedly his middle name is Byron because her favorite poet was Lord Byron. There's a few stories of how he got his middle name, but that's one of them. And
was his mother in the arts also?
She wasn't, but she loved the arts. I think a lot of it was the time period. You know, there weren't a lot of options for women. So she just instilled in him her love for the arts, and I think was a very like creative, like dynamic person. Though she was, her friends said that she was rather shy, and Jimmy in real life was rather shy as well. But she tragically got cancer when Jimmy was around 9, and Winton's mom, Emma Dean, came out to help with Mildred and running the household. And then it became clear Mildred wasn't going to recover. So Winton's sister, Hortense, and her husband, Marcus Sr., offered to take Jimmy in until Winton could get back on his feet. So Jimmy went on the train with his grandmother, Emma, to Fairmount. And then he was raised by his uncle and his aunt until he graduated high school at 17.
Okay, let's see some more of your memorabilia.
Yeah, we can show you some we can show you his baby clothes. So here are his baby clothes. And then his boots. And then we want to show you some artifacts from the actual train that they took. So in here, I don't know if you can. So Jimmy kept this cup and saucer from the train ride. And the train was called the Challenger, which is kind of fitting with Dean's mythology. And here's a picture of him with his grandmother when they arrived in Marion on the train.
And I want to say, too, I think that his upbringing on the farm was a very happy one. I think he was happy here. Very. Marcus Sr., Hortense, they were wonderful people, salt of the earth. And I think he was very happy on the farm.
So did he perform while he was in high school?
Yes, he was very involved. So Adeline Null was his speech and drama teacher at Fairmount High School. And here's a picture of her later on. During the festival, we had like a rock lasso contest that she was competing in. And, you know, very dynamic teacher. And Jimmy, his senior year of high school, the National Forensic League had a speech competition, and Jimmy entered with, he chose this one himself. It was a Madman's Manuscript by Charles Dickens. And the person basically is kind of like a Dr. Jekyll Hyde character, where he goes from sanity to insanity. So it was perfect for him. And he practiced that, and they went to Peru, Indiana, and he got first place. So then he was going to go on to the national competition in Longmont, Colorado, with Adeline. And do you want to finish it?
No.
Okay. Unfortunately, his speech, so the speeches were supposed to just be 10 minutes, and his was 12 minutes. And he was stubborn, you know, being an actor, and Adeline tried to get him to shorten it, and he refused. So he ended up getting 6th place and didn't go on to the finals, and he was just devastated. But he did get his first taste of success in Peru, Indiana, and, you know, hearing that applause.
So that same attitude he carried over with him when he got into Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so. Like no one was going to tell James Dean what to do.
Okay, I see another costume right behind your shoulders.
Oh, yeah. So this was just clothing that he purchased. The chaps he got when he was filming East of Eden. And then the jacket and belt and pants he got when he was in Marfa filming Giant. Here, Christy can show you his racing suit.
Now, this is a favorite of mine because I'm, Indiana bred and born, so Indianapolis 500. But he was also an avid racer, and we can go into that, in a little bit. But while we're in this room, this was his actual racing suit. And then there's a lot of photos of him at the track. But I mean, I think, for the family, like I said, to keep all of this stuff, and it's amazing. Yeah. We haven't even scratched the surface.
So he was able to separate his stardom from his racing world.
Yes.
I think he wasn't allowed to race when he was shooting. And that was something he was frustrated about.
I think his racing probably came from all of the times on his motorcycle through the back roads of Indiana, going as fast as he could.
Yeah, he did say racing was the only time he felt whole.
Okay, let's see some more memorabilia.
So this over here, his most prized possession was his Matador cape and horns. And he got the cape and horns from this Brooklyn-based matador named Cindy Franklin. And he treasured this. He loved bullfighting. Death in the Afternoon was one of his favorite books. And he outlined a lot of passages in it. And then Christy can talk about. And then his conga. So you can see on the side, he has like a strap for it. And if you look, you can see there are a lot of pictures of him walking around New York City with this conga strapped on his back, and he would just play it at all kinds of places. Here's a nice picture of him, then a stock photo of him on the farm playing his conga.
He must have loved Desi Arnaz.
Yeah, maybe. So, and Jimmy's idol was, Marlon Brando, and Brando played the congas. So,
I do want to show you while we're in this room.
Oh, and he took conga classes with Sorrell Jackson in New York.
This is probably one of my favorite pieces. This is an address book he had, and my dad's name is at the bottom. Dad was in the military, went to the Korean War, but this is one of my favorite things. So folks to remember, and there's my dad.
Was he a very responsible young man?
What do you mean by responsible?
Well, I'm seeing the way he had those notes just now that you were showing, and he took everything very seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and he wrote letters home all the time, and to little Marky.
Yeah.
In fact, we've got a letter over there on display. So he really cared about his family and made sure they were taken care of.
Yeah, very, very much so. Like Marky would send him drawings that Jimmy would tack up in his 19 West 68th Street apartment. Just the letters reveal a more sensitive side to him.
Could we look in that showcase right behind you?
Yes. You could show. So another thing that amazes people about Jimmy is his artistic ability. So you can see here, towards the end of his life, he was taking sculpting lessons with this sculptor named Pega Waring. And he was put in touch with her by his friend Sanford Roth, who was a professional photographer. And here's trying to... here's a picture of him like sculpting. And this is a photo by Sanford Roth and his sculpting tools. So you can just see like the talent was just natural talent. And then in here as well is a letter he wrote to Marky.
The letter looks very playful. I see a lot of underlining.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you want to transcribe it? Are you interested in that?
Do you want us to read it? What the letter
Are there any specific details from it that are interesting?
I would say the ending's really sweet. So he's telling Marky not to draw pictures or not to focus so much on pictures of soldiers, guns, and barred gates with locks on them, because that he should be. Because a lot of people can't see. I'm trying to look at this. Oh, he said, I beg of you, please do not draw buildings of confinement, jails, castles, or zoos. Rather draw places of shelter. Do not draw people in uniform. Rather draw people who are free. Do not draw things of destruction. They are not so important to the good and true artist that he must draw them. Rather draw things that build. There are many things to draw at home. All you have to do is look and you will see. They are harder to draw because they were harder to grow. Have your daddy help you read this. Love, Jim.
Wow. When we have some questions, Krista was saying that she loves attending the annual festival every year.
Yeah.
And Nancy would like to know, when is it? And is there one this year?
There is. It's actually September 23, 24, 25, and 26. So it's
Okay.
very make your plans.
Yeah.
And
is it on the website?
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
JamesDeanArtifacts.com. And there's a full list of events. We have a full street fair, plus we have free entertainment. And we have a James Dean lookalike contest.
And there's a parade that comes just down Washington Street. And there's a giant car show.
Oh my God.
2,500 classic cars that it's amazing. It's hard to see it all in one day, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So I found it right away on the website. I'm sharing that link. There's a lot happening.
Yeah.
Can we see some more? Let's see some more of the exhibits that you have.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's go. So in here, we just got oops. So this is the shirt. At the very beginning, you were showing a trailer from East of Eden, and the carnival scene. Jimmy's wearing this shirt, and this is it on the mannequin. And you can see, looking at it, that he wasn't a very big guy, but very athletic, like we said, and strong.
Oh, I wanted to ask, the letter, was Marky his brother?
So Marky, when Jimmy came to the farm, Marky wasn't born yet. So to him, Jimmy was always like an older brother, and they were very close. So in actuality, he's his cousin, but they were raised like brothers.
There was a photographer, Dennis Stock, who came to Fairmount with Jimmy in 1955, February 55, and he did a lot of photographed Jimmy all around town, and it was for Life magazine. And there are a lot of amazing photographs of Jimmy with Marky Jr. And you could see how close they are. I mean, and you can tell Marky's just in awe of him. And note that Marky he's the one that takes care of this. Yeah. And he also still lives in the home where James Dean grew up and takes care of the farm there.
And he keeps it just like how it was. It's beautiful. It's just pristine.
And was James Dean his original name?
Yes.
Yes.
Wow. All right. Nice name.
Yeah.
Yeah. he when he first started out, he played with it a little bit, and for a moment he went by for a production at, I think it was at Santa Monica. No, it was the Scarlet Gulch. He went as Byron James, but then he asked some friends like what he should do in the future, and they were like, "Stick with your name."
All right, let's continue. I see so many things around us.
Christy can show you. We have a giant picture of his senior class.
So the senior class of 1949, there were 49 classmates, which is kind of crazy. And I'll see, I'm not a very tall person. Let's see. So you can see James Dean's senior picture there with the star on it. I'll show your dad. And then just because there's my dad. And I did want to say just another note about my dad. A funny story is that when they came home in 1955, Dad was working in town, and my grandmother said, "Hey, did you know that Jimmy's in town?" And Dad said, "Yeah, but he's a big actor. He doesn't want anything to do with me now." And my grandmother convinced him to call, and Dad said Jimmy was thrilled that somebody, would call him. And he said, "Well, Bob, what's there to do?" And Dad said, "Well, nothing but drink." So they went out that night and had a good time. But the sad part of the story is they were in a little tavern in Marion, and a gentleman came up and asked for Jimmy's autograph. And Jimmy said, "Sure." So he wrote it down on a napkin, and the gentleman just tore it up right in front of him and threw it on the table. So we're not sure if that was a jealousy thing, if it was something about him not being in the military. We're not sure, but it's kind of a sad story. But my dad always had the last laughs on him because if he had that autograph today, it'd be worth it.
What is that? What is up above your in the cabinet right now?
Absolutely, yeah.
So this is a cast at Griffith Observatory. So in Rebel Without a Cause, most of the action in the movie takes place at Griffith Observatory. And Kenneth Kendall, he's known as the James Dean artist. He did tons of paintings and sculptures of James Dean. And this is a cast from the monument that's at Griffith for Jimmy that he gave the museum.
And there was also one at the cemetery which got stolen.
Yeah, so at the cemetery there was also one, but someone stole the head off. And that seems to happen with a lot of Jimmy's things. Like his headstone itself has been stolen 3 times, which is just sad.
Okay, what else is in that showcase?
So another example, some smaller examples of Kenneth Kendall's work. And then below we have Jimmy's basketball uniform from 6th grade when he was at the West Ward School.
Oh, let's reinstate those uniforms. That's what.
They're probably wool, made of wool.
They look so comfortable.
We need that again.
And you were about to show us that oil painting?
Yeah, so this is oh gosh, I'm so bad at the camera, I'm sorry. So this is one of Kenneth Kendall's paintings of Jimmy, and he really captures him. And Kenneth Kendall actually met Jimmy. He showed up at his studio one day with Tony Lee Scott, his friend, who introduced him. And he, at the time, had no idea who James Dean was. And Jimmy had seen his bust of Marlon Brando in his shop window and asked him if he would do a bust of him. And he was just like, "What? Like, who is this this guy like asking for me to sculpt him?" And then when Jimmy died, he realized like, "Oh, that's the young man that came to my studio." And he says that he started working on this sculpture of Jimmy that night.
Yeah, I think he'd seen Easterby, and he went to see Easterby.
Yeah,
and then he was like, oh,
just mesmerized and couldn't believe it.
Do you have any memorabilia from Rebel Without a Cause?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So what was the relationship with Jimmy and Natalie Wood and Sal Mineo?
Oh, they were very close. They got along really well. They just, they identified with their characters so much, they almost like became their characters in real life. And a good friendship.
Sadly, there's a famous story that the three of them all died young.
And
tragically.
Yeah. Along with Nick Adams also, which is sad. That's one thing really sad. Like here are the switchblades from the knife scene that were given to Winton after Jimmy's death, and then he gave them to us. And then the monkey from the opening credits. So Steffi Sidney, who was one of the gang members in Rebel, she took this from the set.
And this has nothing to do with the Rebel Without a Cause, but before we leave this other room, I wanted to point out a couple of things in here. What I like about our museum is that we have items, and then we have photographs of Jimmy actually with them. So this is one of the things. There's a picture here. I hope you can see it. Of Jimmy sitting in this chair on the phone, and then we have the actual chair and the phone. So, like I said, the family has just done an outstanding job in letting us have this stuff on display for people to see. Oh,
yeah. So in the corner over here, we actually have the sink from his New York City apartment. And
they're still looking for that.
I swear we didn't steal it.
we like to say we have everything and the kitchen sink. But that's the bathroom sink from his New York City apartment. And the man that lives there is a dear, dear friend of ours. And he's lived there for the past 40 plus years. And whenever anything kind of breaks in the apartment, he'll send it to us to display. So whenever the bathtub decides to give out, we're going to get that too.
He did drive that all the way from New York to donate it to the museum.
To us. So that's the one thing wonderful about James Dean fans is, they care so deeply. It's not like a superficial level of fandom. It's deep fandom. Are you into it? So in here, we have Jimmy's last bike, which is his Triumph. And Marcus actually hired a private investigator to find the bike because it had been missing for years. And you can see it's just gorgeous. And over here, we have on display Phil Stern photos of Jimmy with the bike. And he loved to hang out at Googie's and Schwab's Pharmacy. Sorry, I think I muted us. So here's Jimmy's last bike, the Triumph. And here are some pictures of him with the bike. And these photos were taken by Phil Stern, who had just met Jimmy because they almost collided. And then they became friends. And here's a picture of Jimmy of Phil Stern Right.
Do you know what movies he was planning on making after Giant?
Yeah, so he was next slated to be in Somebody Up There Likes Me. He was going to play Rocky Graziano, and his co-star was going to be Pierre Angeli, who, as you know, was one of his past girlfriends who married Vic Damone instead of Jimmy. And Paul Newman ended up getting most of Jimmy's parts, so they were always competing for parts. Rare Paul Jimmy, and Paul Newman was trying to get the part of Cal Trask, but lost it to Jimmy. And then he was going to be in Left-Handed Gun. He was going to play Billy the Kid, which was a dream of his, and he would have been absolutely perfect for the role. And that, of course, went to Paul Newman as well. Those were two of the films he was going to do next.
Do you want to explain his last hours?
The last. Yeah. So Jimmy was really excited because he had finished most of his work on Giant. He still had to do like a little bit like with the Last Supper scene, but after his death, they ended up using Nick Adams. It dubbed those lines because they were too unintelligible. Because Jimmy, drunk as Jeff. But he's going to a race in Salinas, and so many people always claim that Jimmy asked them to go to the races with him. But here on display, we have a little note Jimmy had written. I'm not good at doing this. I'm not sure if it's showing up. Up. And he's deciding it says who will go. And then it says Rolf. And Ralph Weatherick was his mechanic. Then Bill Hickman, who ended up being a very famous stunt driver. He did Bullet and The French Connection. And then his dad, Wynton. And then Nolan, who was his uncle. And he had just, gotten the Spider. So here's a model of him in the Spider from Competition Motor. And then, they headed out to Salinas. And so his friends, Sanford Roth and Bill Hickman, were following in the station wagon. And Jimmy was in front of them in the Spider with the in the Spider with Ralph Weatherick, and they were coming up to the intersection of 41 and 46, and Ralph Donald Turnipseed was returning home from Cal Poly, and he made an illegal left-hand turn in front of James Dean, and there was just no avoiding it. So it was just tragic.
So it had nothing to do with him speeding.
No, people like to say oh, he was going over 100 miles an hour and that's why it happened. And he might have been going a little bit over the speed limit. And yes, he did get a ticket 2.5 hours before the crash. But a lot of people have studied the crash. Warren Beath wrote a wonderful book called The Death of James Dean that really investigates the crash. And Lee Raskin has written books about the crash as well. One, which is The Road to Salinas, that really gets into it. And through their research, they've determined that, speed, though that might have been a bit of a factor, it was really because Donald Turnipseed made an illegal left-hand turn in front of Dean. So there was only so much Jimmy could do.
And it was kind of dusk, and it was a silver Porsche low to the road. Says he didn't seem, which I could see. It would be hard probably to differentiate him from the road, but
yeah. But as tragic as
and
it
his
was,
passenger survived.
yes,
barely. He was in the hospital for like 18 months. He almost lost his leg. It was a gruesome accident. If you see the photos from it, just gruesome. But we like to focus, on Jimmy's life. Even though he was only 24 when he passed, he did do quite a lot of living in those 24 years, and what he accomplished is just unbelievable.
He seemed like, just from what you're speaking of, the way I can feel the passion that you both have for him. He seemed like he was a humble type of person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
And yeah.
I mean, when it came to his work, he knew exactly what he wanted, and he wanted to do it the way he wanted to do it.
Right.
I don't know how well he got along with his directors. Do you have anything on that?
Yeah, he got along really well with Nicholas Ray, and he pretty much co-directed Rebel Without a Cause with Nick, and they were planning on starting a production company together because Jimmy was interested in becoming a director. And on Giant, he actually bought like a Bolex camera and was taking video and was really studying his craft, because directing really was something he was going to become involved with. George Stevens and him didn't get along so great. It's been blown a little bit out of proportion, like how much they didn't get along. But George Stevens just didn't understand really Jimmy's style of acting. And Kazan, he got along well with for the most part.
Okay. And when you think about the evolution of the movies, the 3 films, when he finally got to do Giant, now he was working with the top of the top, Rock Hudson and Elizabeth Taylor. How did his style mesh with Liz? Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you watch the movie, Jimmy, I mean, he steals every scene he's in.
And he's in it. He's not in it very much, but every single scene is his.
Yeah, he just owns it, especially just that pivotal scene where he refuses to give up his land that Luz left him. And he does that little rope trick at the end, and then that sleight of hand. Yeah, I mean, his performance, I mean, just the promise of that performance and what was to come, it's unbelievable.
Can we see some more memorabilia? We're running a little long here, and I just want to see.
I do point out, a lot of people probably don't know. I mean, we were talking about the sculpture, but he was very good in every kind of art medium. This is a watercolor he did of bullfighting. And it goes back, like, we have stuff that he did and art that he created in grade school. And he just had a natural talent. I'm going to show some of his favorite clothing and just some of his favorite items.
A tape recorder?
Yes.
Oh,
you want to talk about that?
So this, he actually it's like a secret recorder. So you run the wire through your sleeve and wear the watch. And there's a recording he did where he's speaking to his family, and he's asking them, where did I get my artistic ability? And his grandpa does this auctioneering like voice, and then Jimmy mimics it, and they both like laugh about it. And it's a great little recording. And then he ends up telling them, like, I was recording this. And you could the recording's wonderful because you get a sense of really just like the closeness and the warmth he shared with his family here in Fairmount.
I didn't realize bullfighting was so popular in Indiana. Where did he get how did he acquire such an interest? And did he ever do it?
Oh, the interest in bullfighting. really, he had this mentor, Reverend James DeWeerd in Fairmount, who really got him interested in bullfighting. And it's really, I think the interest kind of continued because it's just that kind of like dance with death, you know. And I think that kind of appealed to Jimmy in a way, just with his just the way he liked to live, like just more daring, I guess.
Yeah, I think many people don't realize he was nominated for an Academy Award for 2 out of the 3 movies that he was in.
Right. So he's still the only actor to be nominated twice posthumously for an Oscar, for East of Eden and Giant. Surprisingly, he wasn't nominated for Rebel Without a Cause, and Sal Mineo and Natalie Wood were. And that's just interesting because people most identify with, you know, the red jacket, the Rebel Without a Cause when they see Jimmy's image. But he still holds.
It was Rebel that really solidified him with the public.
Yeah.
I would say so.
And at that point, there was no separating that character from the actor.
Right. I think people if you see the red jacket, Jimmy in the red jacket, I mean, you know instantly. And that's always kind of been, and it probably was, I think a lot of local people, including my dad, always said that the Cal Trask character was closer to Jimmy than any of them.
Yeah. The family says, you know, if you want to know James Dean, watch East of Eden.
Just kind of the shy boy.
Right. Shy, but a little bit mischievous.
Yeah.
But that's why East of Eden's will always be our favorite of his.
All right, let's see a few more pieces that you may have, and then we can get to your gift shop.
So this was his favorite shirt, and here's him wearing it. And this is a Sid Avery photo. One thing that's amazing about Jimmy there's so many photos of him, and he was very interested in photography. And befriended a lot of photographers. And then here's his lasso that he uses in that pivotal scene we were just talking about. And then he just had a great sense of style. Like we have his cufflinks, which are oil derricks.
Oh, wow.
And then how hard it is. And then this is
you can see the
if you can see, sorry for the reflection. But this is a Frank Worth photo of Jimmy with these 2 fence posts, and these are the actual posts from Marfa. And this windmill was built from wood from the actual windmill in Marfa, and Marcus Jr. Built this. So you can see the artistic ability just runs in the family. And the actual windmill is still standing. So a lot of fans go out just to see it.
Has the pandemic affected your museum much?
Yes. We were, oops. Oh no.
Take your time. You just have to reboot your video.
There we go.
It says the host has disabled it.
Oh, that host. Darren, I think you're muted.
That's on my end. I'll take care of that. Go ahead, continue with your story, and I'll be right back with that.
Okay. Yes, we had to be closed all of last year because of the pandemic. We even had to cancel our annual James Dean Festival, which was just devastating. So we're happy to be open now to the public, and to be having our festival this year. And we're hoping to make it that it will be bigger and better than ever.
It sounds like the entire town shows up for it.
Well, the town is about 3,000 residents. We have one actual stoplight. The town is pretty much like it was when Jimmy was here. It's like coming back to Mayberry, I always say. And we have at least probably 20 to 30,000 people that'll come to the town. It's the only time there's ever a traffic jam.
And I'm assuming you have hotels and restaurants, and everybody supports the festival.
Yeah,
they do. There are just a couple of Airbnbs here in town because we are really small, but you can get lodging, 8 to 10 miles away. Now they do generally book up almost a year in advance. I think this year's a little different because of the COVID. People are starting to think about whether or not they're going to, if they're coming or, so there have been some cancellations, but for the most part, everything around within probably a 30-mile radius books up a year in advance. There are restaurants in town. And then we also have, with the street fair, we'll have lots of food vendors as well. And it does takes the whole community to kind of solidify everything. We have a board here that kind of steers the festival. But we got a lot of cooperation from, street departments and the police station and so forth.
Darren, can we get their visual back?
No, it doesn't look like it right now. Yeah, I'm working on it, but it seems like it's frozen in that state.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, too bad. We would love to see your memorabilia. Do you have any books that you would recommend for those that want to learn more about James?
Yeah, we have a great book called Jimmy and Me. That's by Lou Baracker. And he was Jimmy's best friend towards the end of Jimmy's life.
Racing.
And
he was racing. He was also a race car
racer
driver.
like Jimmy.
So he would go to the races. Jimmy kind of helped him too with his racing, would go and watch him race as well. But it's a really honest, heartfelt book that comes, it reads like a diary almost.
Yeah. And then we also have, we have a lot of T-shirts, sweatshirts.
Is it all online? Can our guests visit?
Yeah. It's, if you just go to jamesdeanartifacts.com.
Yeah.
Darren, do you have a link for us? I think Darren's trying to get it.
I think he's trying.
Yeah.
There you go. Can you see the screen share now?
Nope.
I see.
It says we see you, and it says it has started screen sharing.
Okay. It should pop up, but we have the website there. It's jamesdeanartifacts.com. Just let me know when it toggles into view, and that'll be it. Let's see here. No, maybe we're having trouble today. I'm sorry if that's the case. Yeah, it looks like it's stuttering, and it just froze on my end as well. Okay. But we will be responding to after this meeting. Everybody's going to get a follow-up email thanking you for joining us, and I'll have all the links to the James Dean Artifacts website. You can look at their shop as well. Yeah, there'll be you'll be able to see everything in there, and you'll also be able to sign up for the festival if you're interested.
Fantastic. I appreciate it.
Great.
That.
Yeah.
This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you two are a real treat, that's for certain. I absolutely love the enthusiasm that you bring to the subject. How do you think James Dean would feel knowing all these years later, the adulation and the people are still as involved with his career as when he was alive? Do you think he would take to it?
Well, I would tell you, from my dad's point of view, because when Dad was very involved, he would just say, he is laughing. He thinks this is hilarious. That's what he always said. I don't know if Dorothy has a different take on it or not.
Yeah, no, I think he would be tickled by it. And I think he would probably enjoy it much more than he would admit. I agree.
Wow. Thank you both so much. Darren, do you have anything that you're bringing up to show them?
No, not today. It looks like that is stuck. But again, we'll send out that email. You'll get all of those links. Not a problem. And if you're too impatient to wait for the email, you can go to jamesdeanartifacts.com. Ooh, we did have one question. Did James Dean have any romantic interests?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
yeah,
we just started another hour.
I know. I'm sorry. It came up a couple of times and I didn't want to neglect to bring it up.
Yeah, I don't think we really have time to get into it all. We would need another hour. But yes, there of course was Pier Angeli, who to many was the love of his life, and her mother greatly disliked Jimmy because he wasn't Italian and wasn't Catholic, and in her view, he was just reckless. And then, of course, there was, Liz. I saw someone just wrote Liz Sheridan. Yes, Dizzy early on in his New York days. And then Barbara Glenn, who he dated for almost 2 years in New York.
You know what, Christy? You know what I think what we ought to do is let's do a follow-up and just focus on his love life.
Okay.
Because I think that would cover an entire hour. And also, there are so many rumors and stories about him that I'd like to really go into depth to understand his good. I don't want to get into it now. You know what I'm talking about. But I would like to expose all of that.
That sounds like a great program.
Okay, we'll get in touch and we'll schedule another one. A couple of, next year sometime. We're only a couple of months away.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, both of you.
Dorothy, Christy, thank you both so much. And thank all of you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you again. Remember, next Monday, Sal is talking about Child Stars of Hollywood, Part 1. We look forward to seeing you there. Be sure to visit jamesdeanartifacts.com to learn more about James Dean, the museum, and you can also shop their gift shop. And you can follow all of Sal's programs at salstgeorge.com.
And Darren,
thank you, everybody.
I do want to take a moment just to thank all of the followers that we do have. They are so loyal, and I am so appreciative. I see tweets going out, publicizing our events, and thank you, Anna. I know you're out there doing it. Yes, I really appreciate what everybody's doing for us. It'll just help us grow.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.